Let's go, Chiefs fans! We have some big updates that could shake up Kansas City's roster even more. The Chiefs are moving money around like a high-stakes poker game, gearing up for the madness of free agency. The legal tampering period begins March 10th, and official signings begin March 12th, but Kansas City still has a lot of work to do. But before we continue, please hit the like button if you've been a Chiefs fan for 20-plus years. It's great to see fans of all ages. There are people here who were at the first game. If you can, comment something like, "Let's go, Chiefs! Let's go to the Super Bowl!" The Chiefs are currently $2.9 million over the 2025 NFL salary cap, according to Over the Cap. And that doesn't even include draft picks, outside free agents, or the usual roster tweaks that Brett Veach loves to make to keep this dynasty rolling. To get ahead of the salary cap crunch, the Chiefs franchise-tagged right guard Trey Smith, guaranteeing him $23 million through 2025, at least for now. This is just a placeholder while they try to work out a long-term deal. Then came the big move. Joe Thuney, one of the best guards in football, was gone. Traded to the Chicago Bears for a 2026 fourth-round pick. Thuney is still an elite lineman, but at 32, his contract wasn't getting any cheaper. The move frees up $16 million in cap space, a big chunk of which the Chiefs need. So that leaves the question. Who's next in line to be cut? Let's break it down. 1. Joshua Williams, CB****. The Chiefs have a deep cornerback group, and Williams might be the odd man out. Last season, he played 411 snaps, the fewest of Kansas City's top 4 cornerbacks. His 64.3 PFF grade ranked 62nd out of 116 corners, not terrible, but not great either. Cutting him would free up $3.4 million, which isn't a lot, but every dollar counts when you're trying to reload for another Super Bowl run. If the Chiefs need extra money to pursue a wide receiver from Mahomes, this could be a tough but necessary move. But what do you think, Chiefs fans? Should Kansas City move on from Williams, or would it hurt the secondary too much? We've got a lot to talk about, from roster changes to how one of Patrick Mahomes' biggest rivals in the AFC is also taking some hits. Let's dive in. The road to a three-peat just got a little tougher. The Chiefs are heading into the 2025 season with some big changes, and while they're still the favorites in the AFC, they're facing a lot of questions. After that tough Super Bowl 59 loss to the Eagles, it was clear that Kansas City had some holes to fill. Now, with free agency looming, the Chiefs are making moves, but so are their rivals. The good news? Travis Kelce is back for at least one more season. That's a big win. The Chiefs also placed the franchise tag on Trey Smith, keeping one of their top linemen in the building. But then came the big move. Joe Thuney, one of the best guards in football, was traded to the Bears. Losing Thuney raises some major questions about how Kansas City will protect Mahomes next season. And the bad news may not stop there. Reports say safety Justin Reid is unlikely to return, which would be another major blow to the defense. But here's the thing, Kansas City isn't the only AFC powerhouse dealing with issues. The Baltimore Ravens, one of Mahomes' toughest rivals, are also losing key players. Star offensive lineman Kevin Zeitler is set to leave in free agency, and the Ravens' defense could be hit with some key departures. That means while the Chiefs are making tough decisions, so are their biggest threats. So, Chiefs fans, what do you think? Are these moves setting the team up for another deep playoff run, or are we looking at a tough road ahead? Justin Reid, one of the Chiefs' key defensive leaders, just learned on social media that Kansas City may not be bringing him back. That's right, the man himself was blindsided by the news. Let's break it down. The Chiefs have a lot of tough decisions to make this offseason. Nearly 24 players from last season's roster are set to become free agents, and with a tight salary cap, Kansas City simply can't afford to keep them all. One of the biggest question marks is safety Justin Reid. Reid has been a key part of this defense since joining the Chiefs in 2022. He's taken over as a leader, helped solidify the secondary, and played a big role in making Kansas City a top 10 defense in the NFL. But now, his contract is up and he's drawing interest from teams across the league. With linebacker Nick Bolton also potentially leaving, losing Reid would leave a big hole in this unit. But here's where things get really interesting. On Tuesday, Nate Taylor of The Athletic reported that the Chiefs are not planning to re-sign Justin Reid. That news alone was big news for Chiefs fans, but apparently it was big news for Reid, too. Because he had no idea. Reed responded to the report on social media with a simple comment, "Well, that's news. Yes, you heard that right." One of the Chiefs' top defensive players found out about his future the same way fans do, by scrolling through his phone. If this sounds familiar, it's because we've seen it before. In 2020, the Chiefs let Tyrann Mathieu walk in free agency, opting to bring in a younger, more affordable replacement. That replacement? Justin Reed. Now, history may be repeating itself. The Chiefs have never been afraid to let go of players if they believe they can find cheaper talent. But this hurts. Reed is just 28 years old, a proven leader, and has 10 interceptions and 580 tackles in his career. He's exactly the kind of player you want on your defense. Letting him go might save money, but it also creates a big problem: who takes his place? So what do you think, Chiefs fans? Should Kansas City find a way to keep Justin Reed, or is it time to move on? The Chiefs want to keep Hollywood Brown, but after a surprising contract extension in Los Angeles, that just got a lot harder. Let's break it down. The Chiefs' wide receiver group is already ripe for a major overhaul. 5 of Kansas City's 2024 wide receivers are headed to free agency, including Hollywood Brown. The Chiefs have made it clear they'd love to keep him in Kansas City, but the market is changing fast, and not in their favor. On Thursday, the Rams handed wide receiver Tutu Atwell a 1-year deal worth $10 million in guaranteed money. That's a big payday for a guy who, let's be honest, hasn't exactly changed the game. Since being drafted in 2021, Atwell has 99 receptions for 1,224 yards and just 4 touchdowns. His best season? 42 receptions for 562 yards. Decent numbers, but nothing to write home about. And that's where things get tricky for the Chiefs. Atwell's deal just set the market for lower-tier free agent wide receivers, which means Hollywood Brown's price tag just went up, maybe a lot. Brown's situation is different now. He missed most of the 2024 season after suffering a preseason SC injury, and when he returned, he didn't exactly light up the stat sheet. In 5 games, 2 in the regular season and 3 in the playoffs, he caught just 14 passes for 141 yards. Still, the Chiefs' offense looked more dynamic with him on the field, even if he wasn't putting up big numbers. Before Atwell's deal, the market for Brown looked reasonable. Spotrac projected him to land a 2-year deal for $15.9 million, about $8 million per season. But now, there's almost no way Brown would accept less guaranteed money than Atwell. He's simply been more productive over the course of his career. Since entering the league, Brown has racked up 313 receptions for over 4,000 yards and 28 touchdowns. Even with the injuries, he's a bigger player than Atwell, which means he'll demand a bigger contract. So where does that leave the Chiefs? Well, Brett Veach is one of the best in the business when it comes to cap space, but Kansas City is already short on cash. With other needs to address, like the offensive line, secondary, and a potential Chris Jones extension, it's getting harder to justify spending big on a receiver who hasn't been consistently available. There's still a chance Brown could return, but after this latest development, it's starting to look like the Chiefs may have to look elsewhere for wide receiver help in 2025. Maybe they'll dip into the draft. Maybe they'll pursue a more affordable free agent. Either way, Hollywood Brown staying in Kansas City just became a long shot. What do you think, Chiefs fans? Should the team try to match Brown's rising price tag, or is it time to move on and find another weapon for Mahomes? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe for more Chiefs updates, and we'll see you in the next video.